Hi there, I'm Josh Little, and this is part 4 of Business Ideation Ranking, how to force your best ideas to fight for your time and attention. And this is all about focus, which means saying no to the hundreds of other good ideas that you've had. If you've been following along, you've probably found hundreds of problems and solutions and generated hundreds of ideas at this point. We've pared them down to just your best ideas. We really should be moving into this part with 15 or 20 of your best ideas. And I'm going to show you how to make those fight for your time and attention. And we're going to do that using a tool called a rubric. A rubric is just a way to measure something, and something that is subjective, like what business should I start, and make it objective, or at least as objective as possible. And if you've ever given a presentation in class or a performance, been graded on a performance, you've probably been graded by a rubric. So let's just use the example of who gave the best musical performance. That's kind of a hard question to answer. It kind of depends on multiple factors, right? But you can answer the question of, did the performer sing with correct posture? Yeah, okay, we'll give that an 8. And did they sing on pitch? Did they have good breath support? Did they demonstrate dynamic range? And did they perform with confidence and energy? Those are pretty easy questions to answer for an individual performer. And we're going to do something similar to your business ideas, so that, like who gave the best musical performance, you can answer the question of, what's the best idea I have, and what should I start working on validating next? And to do this, you're going to develop your own proprietary grading method, your unique fingerprint for determining what business idea is the best based on your unique interests and desires. And we're going to do this by developing both positive and negative criteria. This is a list of potential positive criteria. It's not exhaustive. There could be other things that matter to you, but let's just go through them to make sure we understand them. Could be speed to revenue, how quickly the company will make money, or revenue potential, how much money the company could make, or market size, how big is the potential customers who could use your product, or exit potential, how big that exit could potentially be. Could this be a unicorn, a $1 billion or more exit? If it's a sure thing. Some people want to make sure that they're doing things that are most likely to succeed. Or is it an established need? I don't want to be building a company in a place that I have to teach people about the problem. I want people to already be Googling and searching for this. Or willingness to pay. Are people willing to pay a lot of money for this thing? Or cheat code. Do I have a unique cheat code that would give me an advantage in this area, which we've talked about? Or flexibility. I want to be building a company that will allow me to travel with my family or take time when I need it. I want it to work around my schedule, not the other way. Or scalability. I want to make sure I'm not going to hit a ceiling if I build this company and invest in it. Or love energy. That could be just you want to be doing something that you love and are so proud of every day. Or easy lift. Is this company generally easy to get going? Is it not going to take months and months or years of building a product or working through regulatory? Timing and trends. Am I taking advantage of existing timing and trends? Skill. Am I taking advantage of skills that either I or my co-founder or my partner have? Team vibes. I just want to be working with people that I love every day and want to be around them. White space. That there's space to play and compete in this market. That there's a unique position that you can have. Or simplicity. That whatever I do, it just needs to be simple. I don't want to be doing something complex. I want to be building something that, I can easily run, kind of keep one finger on the wheel sort of idea. Or maybe something with network effects where, I won't have to market or really try hard to drive sales to this product because it's got these network effects, these built-in viral components. Or maybe impact matters, a social impact or economic impact or something that really puts a dent in the globe could be a potential positive criteria. Or team size, that could be, I want to employ as much people as possible, or I want to employ the fewest people as possible. I want a company that can do over $1 million in revenue with the smallest team. Or maybe stickiness. I want something that once people start using the product, they're never going to stop using it. Or maybe it's cash flow. It kind of doesn't matter what revenue is or the potential of that, as long as it's providing a decent amount of cash flow. That's most important to me. Or the capital needed. I want something that's as little initial startup capital as possible. Or maybe legacy drives you. The potential this is impact long-term, or a family legacy that you're pursuing. Could be any of these, but it's most likely a combination of those things. And as I've gone through them, I'm sure some have resonated with you. So start keeping them in the back of your mind. The other thing we'll do is develop negative criteria, things you definitely want to stay away from. And you can see the tiles didn't really change here. It's really just the negative side of those things. Like maybe I want something with great revenue potential and a huge market size, but I definitely, don't want it to have low cash flow. So cash flow is the negative. So even if an idea that has great revenue and market size, if it doesn't provide cash flow, then I don't want it. So negative kind of work against the positive. They'll essentially subtract from your score. So let's talk about how to do this. Let's say I chose these 5 as my positive criteria. And these are the things that matter to me. The first question to ask is, are there any conflicts here? And there may be. Team size and cash flow may kind of work against each other, because the larger the team, typically the lower the cash flow, if my goal was to have a large team. And so maybe I want to think about swapping those out. Let's swap those out, actually, cheat code and market size. I think those would be better. So if these were your 5, let's say, the next step is to weight each of those, because they don't equally matter the same. Some matter more than others. So the first thing to determine is what matters the least here. And let's just say it's market size. So whatever matters the least, give it a 1 on your weighting. And then go to what matters the most on this list, and what matters the most and how much more does it matter. And maybe I choose love. Like I just want to be doing something I love every day. And that's 4 times more important than market size to me. But it could be 10 times more important. It could be 2 times more important. But these are just the weightings that come into place with the calculation. Then kind of fill in the rest in between those 2. So maybe established need is a 2, cheat code is important, but not as important as love, so that's a 3, and revenue potential is a 2. Now we have an instrument that can help us determine, out of our 15 or 20 ideas, which are the best for us. It's not necessarily the best, but it's best based on your unique criteria, your grading criteria. And then you're just going to go through and grade them. You could use a scale of 1 to 5. You could use a scale of 1 to 10. I prefer that, but some people feel like 1 to 10 is too large of a gradient. Whatever works for you, as long as it's consistent across them. So maybe the first idea I have, I grade established need as a 2. Because it's not much of an established need, and cheat code is pretty high because I have a cheat code in this area, and the love is good but not great, so we'll give it a 6. Market size, it's kind of a mid-sized market, and revenue potential though for this product is extremely high, so I would grade them. Now it's 2 times 2 plus 3 times 7 plus 4 times 6 plus 1 times 5 plus 2 times 10. And don't worry, we'll do this with a spreadsheet, and that would give you a score of 74. And if you had negative criteria, you would also score those. And I'll show you an example in a minute, and it would detract from that score. So let's do a live example here. Let's actually build a rubric together, and we'll use a spreadsheet, and we'll use kind of the 3 ideas I had in part 3, where we talked about different examples of problems to solve. So the 3 ideas are an app that would help people run weight loss challenges, where they could invite other people to do a challenge. Everyone puts in money. The app takes the payments, and you can set prizes. And maybe there's a communication component that can help people communicate and keep others accountable throughout the challenge. Okay. Next one is the recovery automation, helping patients heal better and faster through the use of technology. Think, just-in-time education and text messages to help the surgeon who had a hard time with their patients remembering what to do during their recovery. And then the last one was about pool chemicals, and a weekly delivery of pool chemicals that are automated because you have a device in your pool. We called it Poolio. So let's just weight 3 of these ideas, and let's just say that my criteria here is established need, cheat code, love, market size, and revenue potential. Those are my positives. And then the capital required is my negative. I don't want it to require a lot of capital, and I don't want to take a lot of risk with this. So anything with a high risk is going to be dinged here. But I've only weighted those at 1. You can choose a different weighting if you definitely want to steer away from that. But let's just see how these would turn out. So established need of the weight loss challenge. Are people Googling and searching for this right now? Not really. I'd give it a 4. Cheat code. Well, I happen to have a video messaging app that I've developed that could actually be a pretty unique part of this. So I'd say a cheat code for me would be 8. Love. I love this area. It's not like my greatest passion, but I'd give this a 7. Market size is pretty large. There's a lot of people in the world that struggle with weight. So I'd give this an 8. Revenue potential, I think it's going to be pretty low. It's probably a 2. Capital required is pretty high because it's software, so it's probably an 8. And risk is pretty high because it's not an established need. So maybe I'd give this like a 6 risk. Okay. Now, it doesn't really matter what these numbers are, as long as they're consistent by criteria, by category, that you're grading them in comparison to each other. And we'll do that here. So the recovery automation platform, established need, I'd say maybe slightly more than weight loss. There are some products trying to solve this, but not well. Cheat code, only in that I've built software products before. So, it's maybe a 6. Love, yeah. I mean, I love helping people get better and heal, but I don't know that healthcare is a certain passion of mine. Maybe I give it a 5. Market size, it's smaller than the weight loss challenge probably, but there are hundreds of thousands of surgeons, so maybe just a little bit smaller. Revenue potential, this one's pretty high. I think there's a high willingness to pay, so I'd give this like an 8. Capital required is probably similar, but maybe slightly less. And risk, I think, is lower just because the smaller market, easier to address. So I'm going to give this a 4. Okay, so we can now see 58 versus 61. All right, Poolio, the magical pool chemical delivery service that, a bag of powder shows up at your door each week and it's exactly what your pool needs. Established need, I'd probably rank this a little bit higher. People aren't Googling or searching for it, but I'll just put it a nose higher than the others. Cheat code, not necessarily. I'd probably rank that lower. Love, surprisingly, it'd probably rank right where weight loss challenge. It's something I struggle with myself, and it's a space I could be excited about. I love swimming and helping people enjoy their pools. Market size, pool owners, it's probably smaller than the other 2. I'll give it a 6. I think revenue potential could be high if we develop the right product. I'm not sure about willingness to pay. So let's just safely say 6. Capital required is going to be pretty high because it's hardware plus software plus shipping and logistics. And risk is pretty high because we're shipping chemicals, etc. I don't know. That's a pretty risky one. Okay. So now we've got a score for each of these. And they're actually surprisingly pretty close. It doesn't always happen that way, but it looks like recovery automation is probably the one I ought to spend more time on. Now, you don't have to just take the top scoring item on your rubric. You can, of course, work on anything you want. This is really just to give you some feedback on, based on what matters to you, where it would score, where it would rank in terms of others, and help you have that conversation with yourself or with your co-founders about why certain things might be more interesting than others. This is usually challenging, especially if you have multiple co-founders, to decide on what to work on and why. So this might be a good time to mention, this is all part of an ideation course that I'm developing. If you want to get on that wait list or join, check the description below. And also, if you're enjoying this content, this might be a good time to subscribe so you can see other content that we create in the future. All right. So if the results of your rubric aren't what you expected, or if there's one that's ranking higher than others and you kind of aren't sure why, I want to just talk about fine-tuning a little bit, because no rubric is perfect right out of the box. Many times when I create a rubric, I'm kind of surprised at the ranking. There's something that I thought should be higher that's not, or something that's at the top that seems like it shouldn't be. It may just be because you're getting that objective feedback if you've done the work properly, but it may not. So let me work through some questions that I think you might want to ask. First, are you missing criteria? I wouldn't recommend more than 4 to 8 columns in your positive criteria and 1 or 2 in your negative criteria, but maybe there's one that's missing that should be represented there. So ask yourself, what is it about the one that you think should be ranking higher that's missing here? Why would this, the one that is at the top ranking higher than the one below it or far below it? You might just have missed a category that would have, corrected that for you. Or are the weights incorrect? I mean, you put the weights on there initially, but maybe there's a certain criteria that's just weighted a little bit too high, or one that's weighted a little bit too low. So maybe take a look at the weights and tweak those. And last, have you rated them correctly? Have you rated them fairly in relation to each other is what would be most correct here. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are in their true values, only that they're true in relation to each other to help you. And this is not, this fine-tuning exercise is not just like making your favorite idea come to the top. This is really an exercise to help you ask the right questions about your venture and your company. And maybe there's a good reason why the thing that you kind of wanted to work on is ranking low, because it actually doesn't score well on the things that really matter to you. So I think you need to ask the question, do those things really matter to you? Or what is it about this idea that makes you feel like it hasn't been represented fairly? Anyway, the point is that you would fine tune that rubric until you have a really fine tuned instrument to show you what is a good opportunity and what is potentially not a good opportunity. And then that leads us to step 5 here. Because you've found problems, you've solved them, you've upgraded them, and now you've created a system to rank them, you now have a really powerful instrument that any idea can run through. So as you work in the world or go about your life and run into problems, they should get into this system. And so rinse and repeat as many times. I'm a collector of problems and ideas. I have a rubric with hundreds of ideas. I've created dozens of different rubrics over time, because every time I create a new venture, the rubric kind of changes. The things that matter to me change. And that may be from something I want to avoid from the last company or something I'm trying to achieve in this next phase of life. But now you have an instrument that can help you, throughout time. And you can run through this formula, which is just find, solve, upgrade, and rank. And once you run through that, you'll be able to see new ideas come on the list. And maybe you have new ideas next week that compete with the ideas that you're currently working on. And, the next step is really just to get started. And the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing, at least according to Walt Disney. And the next step is validation. And so that's the next step for myself as well. We're developing a validation course. And that's where you take your idea and determine if it's really a valid idea. If people want it, they're willing to pay. And at the end of validation, you should have really clear answers on what the market looks like, what this product could be, what the name of it is. You have maybe your first 5 or 10 or 100 customers lined up. That's what I'll teach in validation. And don't put it off. In the immortal words of Pablo Picasso, you should only put off till tomorrow what you're willing to die having left undone. And your future, and you know what you're capable of. Your future for yourself or your family depends on you taking action on these things. And that ends our 4-part ideation series. I just want to thank you for watching. I'm so grateful. I hope to see you in the next video.